I'm fired up today because I've been having a lot of fun with a game. Batman Arkham Shadow is awesome. When it was first announced, I was a little skeptical, but I was also a fan of the studio. It's still playing it now. I totally loved it, and I totally recommend it. If you didn't catch it, I did do the before you buy video on Game Ranks where I break down the whole thing kind of more comprehensively, but here I kind of just wanted to like gush or like freak out about some of the best things about it. I think Batman Arkham Shadow totally succeeds in number one, delivering another Arkham game, but number two, translating the Arkham fun, the Arkham combat, the Arkham gameplay situations into VR successfully. And I think that was probably really challenging. So it's a really impressive feat. This is personally extra fun for me to talk about because I really enjoy VR. I've been an early adopter since the very early days, although I don't have as much time to jump into every VR game lately, but also, as you guys probably know, I love Batman, so I'm an easy mark for this. Also, did you guys read Absolute Batman #1? That was pretty good. I'm curious to see where it goes. Anyway, yeah, so I was an easy mark for this if it was good, but also I would be probably the first person to shit on it if it was bad because I'm such a picky Batman fan. Still, the problem I have, honestly, is just that it's not a native, PC VR game. That's how I tend to enjoy my VR games. I loved Half-Life Alyx, the fidelity that came with that, everything that came with that. Arkham Shadow is stuck on Quest 3 or Quest 3S, Meta's headset. So that unfortunately limits some things, but once you're playing it, you don't really notice it. Still, I wish that this could be on more platforms. I hope it eventually comes to more platforms because I want more people to play it, because what I emphasized in the Game Ranks video, and it's a word that kind of takes people by surprise, I feel like people forget the word, but the word is fun. And I think the fun factor for this game really translates and wins over some of the flaws or the smaller-ish scale of it, or even the fact that it's had some launch day bugs and glitches. I think it's just pure fun, essentially how they translate the Arkham everything. The Predator stealth sections, using your detective vision, the combat, the feel and look of the city of Gotham, all of that. Now, I will say it totally feels way more like an Arkham Origins thing than a Rocksteady Arkham City, Arkham Knight type of thing. But I'm okay with that because I really liked Arkham Origins, and I would have been happy to have had an Arkham Origins sequel. And that's essentially what we're getting here. We're getting all the stuff from those pre-Arkham Asylum games. The Blackgate one on handheld and Arkham Origins. Specifically here with Roger Craig Smith as a really, really good Batman. I've sung his praises for a while now. I just like the way he does it. But they go into some interesting things here. Like how Arkham Origins tackled the struggles of this new Batman. Here it taps into some more things, Bruce's rage. And a lot of story stuff I won't spoil, but they really genuinely try. With some of the characters returning and some little origins and stuff like that, I don't think all of them land 100%, but there is still way more good stuff here than bad, in my opinion. And it's hard to not spoil it, but I think it just really succeeds as another Arkham thing, filling in some blanks, continuing it. Obviously, it feels like it's a different studio, but it still feels like it's in that world. But it's really, again, the feel, the fun factor, the playing it. It's when it all really, really clicks a couple of hours in, when you're really used to the controls, when you have the VR settings set perfectly so you're not throwing up or knocking over something on a shelf, when you're really, really in the zone and it controls so well and everything works so well most of the time that you're barely thinking about anything. You're not struggling with too many controls. You're intuitively zapping in and out of detective vision instantly like you were in the main games. You're grappling hooking up to gargoyles, bouncing around between them, throwing smoke bombs, doing takedowns. You're doing all that. You're comboing dudes. You're parrying left and right. You're giving big slams, breaking legs. One of the big things I mentioned in the before you buy, and I really feel it, it's the simplest thing, but it's when you first see a vent grate and then you go, oh shit, yeah, just pull it and then move it to the side. That's, he's done it a million times in the games. You've seen Batman do it, and now you get to do it. And it sounds so silly. It sounds so stupid. I sound cheesy, but that's awesome. That's fun. When you and you grapple hook up to a rooftop and you look and you see the bat signal, you see, Wayne Tower in the back, you see Ace Chemical and the la, 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 the Arkham music plays. man, that feeling is there, and it's good to have it, especially after, like, you know, shitting on Suicide Squad kills the Justice League and stuff like that. To be in this world a little bit again is just nice. So is that clouding some of my judgment? Sure, yeah, probably. But to me, this just feels like a well-paced and like thought-out, full-ass video game. From you having Wayne Tech upgrades, suit upgrades, melee upgrades, combat up, all that stuff like you would in a standard game, to having combat and predator challenges you can access at the Batcave with leaderboards, to 2 different types of little hidden collectible style things, kind of like Riddler trophies, like it having all of that stuff in what is kind of like a linear, not really linear, like kind of hub area type game. It just feels really comprehensive. But for me, it's all the little stuff. It's all the little work they put in to, you know, the quote, like, it make you feel like Batman, but like it's the little things. Anytime you glide with your cape, the light is mysteriously casting behind you, so you always see your shadow, kind of reminding you that you're Batman. When you walk hallways, the game is always very excited to show your shadow and be like, hey, yeah, you're Batman. Hey, now before we do keep going, I want to talk about the sponsor of today's video, the longtime sponsor, Factor. If you're new around here, Factor delivers fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep, and it makes life really easy. They heat up in the microwave in 2 minutes and you're good to go, but it's good quality, genuine food. And they have a ton of options, 35 meals every week. We're talking their Gourmet Plus, Keto, Calorie Smart, Vegan and Veggie. There's just a bunch of add-ons and all kinds of stuff, but they're not just meals. Smoothies, juices, midnight snacks, they have a bunch of add-ons to keep things exciting. And lately with exercising and keeping myself in check, I've been enjoying these cold brew latte protein shakes. When I'm working all day, grinding away on games or editing videos, it really helps to just know what you're eating. I'm not losing time with meal prepping or going to the grocery store or anything like that. Factor has me set. So if you want to check it out and you want to eat good, head to factor75.com or click the link in the description down below. And when you're there, use code ONJAKE50 to get 50% off your first Factor box plus 20% off your next month of orders. Again, that code is ONJAKE50 at factor75.com for 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. So go, have fun, eat on me, and big thanks to Factor for sponsoring these videos. To the controls feeling so intuitive and like in combat, especially with you do a cape swoosh and it works like how you would expect. It's got a really good sound effect. You see the character get stunned and then you can just punch him like a punching bag a million times. Like you can almost do that without the game even telling you if you've played an Arkham game. And that's impressive. You probably noticed it in like the before you buy gameplay footage and the gameplay footage here. Like I found myself, it sounds silly, but like after a lot of combat scenarios, like, you know, you beat all the enemies, the last one goes down in slow motion, you hear the little bats, your combat score pops up on the side, and I do the like Batman check my gauntlets thing that he would always do in the Arkham games, just because like I'm so in it. There's just a lot of cool stuff. Like I found myself like my runtime of the game being even longer because I looked for all the collectibles and all the stuff like that. But I also found myself just stopping, looking around for Easter eggs, reading every newspaper, listening to every radio broadcast, talking to every NPC or listening to every NPC dialogue, just because, again, I'm just happy to kind of be back in that world and I just want to like hear a little bit more about it. Not to mention the fact that like, you know, the new things that they've added, it's cool to see. Also, just like as a Batman fan, there's a lot of fun stuff there. This isn't spoiling anything. This is literally in the intro, but like they drop Matches Malone. And I was like, what? Huh? Like as soon as I put together like Matches Malone, I was like, oh shit, they got Matches Malone. This is so cool. So yes, I'm just comic book, like, you know, I just like, I'm a comic book boy. They feed me the slop. They mention a character and I get excited. Again, I'm an easy mark, but again, it boils down to that playability, that fun factor. You know, while I said at the start, like, you know, I'm pissed that it's kind of limited to the Quest 3 and not like, you know, native PC hardware or different platforms, like the exclusivity thing, for how they like really maximize this headset, how they really squeeze all the juice out of it. Like visually, I think the game looks really good. Yes, it's not the most complex, detailed physics-based thing like Boneworks or as gorgeous as Half-Life Alyx, but like the art style gets it, the character designs get it, the combat, like how you do it, it is a little QTE-ish, and it does feel a little bit like arcadey, but like once you really get into a flow with it and you really figure it out and you get all the tools to your advantage, you can actually do quite a bit. It's not as like self-expressive as the combat always felt in the Arkham games, but it's pretty damn close. Like with everything, with the gadgets you have, with the way you solve puzzles, with the way you do combat encounters, with the way enemies get introduced and become more and more complicated. Like it's got a lot of it. Like, it's got pretty much close to everything you'd want. It also kind of boldly like commits to really trying to tell a story and gives you full cutscenes, full character interactions, and I found my neck sometimes getting a little tired. But still, it just really feels like they went for it. Like they put out all the stops. And that's good, because I look back at this developer Camouflage. The previous game they did was Iron Man VR, which was like a PSVR game at first, I believe. And I played that and reviewed that for GameRanks, and I liked it. It actually was kind of cool. It was a little rough and it was a little low budget in terms of like what you're doing in the game. There was only a couple of cool parts, you know, like you fly towards a plane and save people. You're shooting a lot of boring robots. The Tony Stark was kind of corny, but what they had figured out was how you fly as Iron Man. You have hand thrusters. How does that work? How do you stop yourself? How do you go? Like, they had it so well figured out where it's like, if you just kind of know Iron Man, you kind of know how to do it somewhat. This version of that is like, yeah, if you've played an Arkham game, you're kind of going to understand how it goes. But now it seems like they really had like the budget and the time to fill out everything else. Give us another comprehensive story in this Gotham. One that, like, bravely enough actually puts you in the shoes of Bruce sometimes, not just Batman. And the pacing slows down a little bit, and it kind of reminds me of like an Escape from Butcher Bay, Chronicles of Riddick type of thing. And I kind of like that. I don't know if that's going to be for everybody. I don't know if everyone's going to vibe with that, but you know, I've kind of just been rambling like a crazy person at this point. Like I had no notes. I just kind of wanted to fire off everything about this. I like literally just pulled the headset off and I was like, oh, I want to talk about it. Now, with the thing, I've been already getting the question a lot, right? Like, Jake, should I go out and buy a Meta Quest headset for this? No, I don't think I would never recommend at this point in the world. Like, I don't think I would recommend anyone buy a piece of hardware just for one game. It's been a long time, or I think ever, since I've really said that. And so I won't say that here. Like, I don't think you should. And I also don't like Facebook as a company, but that's like a whole other thing. I'm just curious to see how this game is received, how well it does. I know it was kind of like a pack-in thing if you do buy like a Meta Quest device or something like that. But like the hardcore PC crowd, I'm curious to see how they're going to take to it, because it's a little bit more casual. But also people who are new to VR, I'm curious if there are people jumping into this, or just Batman fans, or people desperate for another taste of Arkham something. To the point where, like, I do think these guys got the Batman thing figured out. Like, obviously, yes, they have the VR thing figured out, but like, it's nice to see that some team here could like actually maybe take on the mantle. Like, let these guys make a new Batman Arkham Origins game. Let them make an Arkham Origins 3. Because, I mean, in my mind, this is kind of like Arkham Origins 2. I don't know. Then there's the Blackgate game, of course. We're getting lost in the weeds, but still. I just wanted to come here to you today. I talk about a lot of video games online, on here, on GameRanks, on Friends Per Second, and stuff like that. And like, I'm always enjoying a lot of games, but, you know, sometimes I'm like smiling when I'm playing a game, and this was one of those. The second you get into a Predator section and you're on top of a gargoyle and you Predator vision and you look at a room full of dumb guys and vent grates and they're all stupid and you're going to sneak up on all of them and you know you're smarter than them and you just hear the dun 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 dun, like violin orchestral music, it's like, oh, okay, I'm in. That's a good feeling, dude. It's fun to have fun with something. It's fun to enjoy something sometimes, and I think sometimes we forget that. But I think I've talked enough about Arkham Shadow at this point. Without going into spoilers, it's very, very difficult. I had to try very hard to kind of weave through that. So I do want to talk to you guys about this in terms of your experience with VR. I know a lot of people were hoping I would talk about this one, so thank you for even asking. I know people want me to talk about VR games more. It's very hard to cram them in a busy schedule, but I will try, because the response to this was pretty good overall. If you do want to check out, I will link the GameRanks before you buy. Like, not that like it needs my help like with a shout out or anything like that, but like if you want a little bit more of a breakdown and explanation of how exactly combat works, how things work, I do that there. But again, I want to know what you think in the comments about VR, about Arkham, about Batman, Arkham Shadow, if you did jump in. I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably already watched like a playthrough on YouTube. I don't know. I don't think VR games often translate very well to YouTube videos. They probably look a little goofy or not as exciting, but it can be pretty thrilling when you're in the headset. So I want to hear from people who have just kind of analyzed the story, maybe on YouTube, or people who have played through it. Let's talk. I want to hear from you. I think I've said that like 4 times in this video. I'm really rambling. I've had 2 Coke Zeros today, so I'm insane. If you like this video and you like what I'm trying to do here, I'm just talking about stuff I love, stuff I like, stuff I find interesting. Clicking the like button helps me out. Thank you. But that's it, guys. I'm Jake Baldino. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me.